Lucario really has one end goal: build synergy meter and activate burst mode in dual phase. Lucario's field phase is about as basic and high commitment as it gets. To win field consistently, it has to poke from really far away or just play reactionary. CADC as much as possible to build meter while your opponent's trying to zone you out. And wait for the opponent to overextend and lunge at you before going in. In dual phase, Lucario plays a lot like a Street Fighter character. It has fast pokes but not so great preemptive buttons. Just wants to walk opponents down with punish, with bone rush, and with 2Y. And it can get some really nice juggles with its anti-air 8Y. Just the threat of grab is going to be enough to make most opponents strike back, and if they don't, just take the grab. Now let's go over Lucario's top 5 moves in field phase and dual phase, but before we do, let me just note that a lot of Lucario players like to use Jirachi or any kind of support that gives you synergy meter, and it doesn't show it here, but a lot of them like to use the Whimsical Cheer because that can give you synergy meter in the first round. Alright, top 5 moves. First move we're going to talk about is Side Y. Side Y goes quite far, and even if your opponent is able to react to this in CADC, the range that it's at will pretty much be safe from any counterattacks that your opponent can do, and even the CADC you're going to be able to react. If they try to do CADC throw, you're going to be able to homing right past that. This move is best because a lot of people are going to be throwing out high priority projectiles or just good projectiles at you, but they're going to be pretty slow. This can catch them in their startup, or if they're just moving around and they're not blocking and they're not looking specifically for this, they can get hit by this move. It's not safe when done up close, but from far away, there's not really any way you can punish it. Forward Y, similar move, but this one's actually safe. This one's a little bit of a more of a tell for the animation when it's starting up. This just looks like a sidestep, but this one kind of lunges at you and like does a spin before it comes out. -8 on block, better than the -24 from the side Y. But this move goes farther than it did before after they got it buffed, so it goes almost like half screen, so it's pretty good. Those are both good poking tools. Now, Bone Rush is a move that I really prefer to be used as something to specifically go through projectiles that you already see coming out. But a lot of players like to poke with it because you have 3 different follow-ups. You have the 6AY, Slam, 6A by itself, just Bone Rush, -16, and the 6AA is -12 on block. I've made a video talking about how to punish the different variants, but if players are really good and they're able to counterattack through this and this, then they're also going to be able to punish this if they are able to time their counterattack so it doesn't come out and they'll be able to just grab that. So be very careful with this move, but a lot of players aren't going to be punching it properly. By a mix of using this side Y, forward Y, and occasionally poking with Bone Rush, but ideally going through projectiles, you're going to be able to really annoy opponents that are throwing out projectiles, but just by getting close to them. And let me note that this shifts, and this would shift if the opponent didn't block the last hit. Next we have 5A, which is Aura Spirit. This is really just good for making opponents move and give them the idea that they should be coming at you. Because it's not really that forcing of a poke. It does track a bit if the opponent is side walking. But if they're side stepping, they can just avoid it anyway. And if they absorb it, they get a lot of meter. So there's not really much reason for them to approach you, but this will make them antsy and they'll think that they need to come at you, so that's pretty much what it's good for. But also, if your opponent's throwing out, like, for example, if they're Dark Ride, they're throwing out a bunch of pretty decent projectiles, you start charging this, you go through a ton of them and make that thing sit still for a bit. And then next we have Counterattack. This is a mid-low, but the reason it's good is because the CADC out of it's not too bad, so you're going to be wanting to be absorbing a lot of different projectiles to get meter, because Lucario's biggest thing, again, you want to get as much meter as you possibly can so that you can get synergy burst. You want to get that Jirachi, you want to be CADCing things, you want to be absorbing stuff and just kind of chilling out until you can be like, okay, I have enough meter, let me shift real quick. Alright, we got synergy and then burst up. Alright, let's talk about dual phase. I'm actually going to give 6 moves for dual phase. Let's start off with Bone Rush because we already know how this move works. It works similarly, but as you can see, for the amount of space that there is between the 2 characters on the screen, Bone Rush does go farther than it does in field phase. It's the same like space, but you have like a smaller amount of the screen that you can occupy. You can't walk on the whole stage in dual phase. So this move is going to be a lot easier to connect with opponents that aren't blocking. But still, I would just prefer to use it going through projectiles or as a whip punch. It goes pretty far as a whip punch. It starts up in like 15 frames. Yeah, 15 frames. Next we have 2Y. This is a super good whiff punisher, and it's a pretty good preemptive poke, but it doesn't really do that much damage. For the most part, you just want to make opponents think that it's a problem. It's similar to how Force Sphere, because you can use this move in dual phase as well. Your opponent can jump over, and a lot of times they can just punish it on reaction. But the idea is just to make your opponent start coming to you and start pressing stuff, because then you can whiff punish. So I'll give an example of how you can use this to whiff punish. If you know your opponent likes to lunge at you and things like that, then you can punish their lunges with 2Y and then cancel that into Bone Rush. It has a super far hitting hitbox that will be able to combo. 11 frame startup, tied for the fastest move of the game, and it's just super far. You see that range is really good. It's mostly just for keeping your opponents moving backwards, getting them to press a button and whiff, and then whiff punish. And remember, when you're buffering into this, buffer pretty quickly. So let me just show my inputs. If you do this and then you wait and then press A, you'll get the Bone Rush to come out. So just do 2YA real fast like that. 2YA, because, or whatever cancel you want. And then if it does make contact, then your cancel will come out. It doesn't come out on whip though, but you will get a button if you're pressing it too slow, like that. Next we have Jump X. This move is a lot better on tall characters, because on short characters you just like go over them a lot of times. But this move is like 0 on block, depending on like the range or depending on the height that you hit them, and it can cross up. Now it's not that great to show against a short character, so let me demonstrate this cross up on a tall character. You have to press the Y kind of late, but as you see, this is messed up. You can't really do it high. You have to like wait for your character to turn around, and then the opponent has to delay in order to catch you. So when you're doing this, if they try to anti-air you, they have to wait so long that they're not going to have the upper body invincibility a lot of times to even be able to anti-air you. So the angle that you have to do it's kind of weird, but when you match this against tall characters, it's super good. So versus tall characters, it's super good, and I just kind of wanted to put this on the list because if you're coming over projectiles, this is what you really want to be coming down with. You don't want to be coming down with Jump X. I mean, you can, but that delay is not really going to help you, and this arc isn't really that good. It kind of dives in this weird angle where it dives right into an anti-air instead of like Shadow Mewtwo's where it like kind of hops on top of them. And just remember, against tall characters, you can cross them up all day with this. And against short characters, it's not really going to work out too well. But against a lot of short characters, you don't really need to be jumping too much anyway. But this is going to be your go-to move if people are keeping out with projectiles that you can't Bone Rush through. This goes super far to go over them. Then we have 8Y, and the best anti-airs in the game. Reason being that hitbox is disjointed from this character's hurtbox. So you can even throw this out preemptively against jumps a lot of time. You can hit a lot of people because it just recovers so fast. And the juggle potential is pretty ridiculous. So if you're far away, you know you can still combo. It's really good. Just remember that there are some moves that will go through projectiles. If they go through a projectile, they'll go through this. Yeah, they actually kick right through that because jumping Y, there's a hitbox that will go through projectiles. If you're doing it really late though, you can still hit them. But overall, if you're just throwing this move out preemptively against like Blaziken, it's safe because if you think about it, Blaziken's always going to be jumping, and then this move is 0 on block, and it's pretty like risk free to just be throwing it out. And you get a good juggle from it too. And the last move we're going to talk about is this 2X. Now, 2X is -8 on block. It is super good, and it leads to a full combo. So this move is safe. Starts up in 15 frames, which is actually kind of wild. I feel like that might even be a lot. Like, how can it be that fast? That is crazy. Oh, it really is 15 frames, man. That's cheap. That goes that far for 15 frames? I don't know, man. That move's pretty good. And it leads to a full combo, even pretty far out. That's pretty good. Another excellent move we have here is Charge 6X. This is +8 on block, and let me just demonstrate what happens if opponents try to retaliate when they're getting up. Alright, so when we knock them down, charge this when they're getting up. DP right through that. 8A, stream speed. Can punish the teleport on reaction. And that was their back dash. Let's see if I can actually get a punish on that. Yep, and go ahead and punch that backdash as well. So, they really have to block. See what happens if they counter. Go right through that as well. So, it's really good as a meaty. It doesn't directly pierce counterattacks, but it'll allow you to cancel into moves that will be able to poke right through them. In neutral, obviously it's not that great. The range is a little bit good at the end because it keeps going forward at the very end, so opponents might miss just the distance. But in neutral, really, it's a pretty good whiff punisher from far away if someone's like whiffing like really laggy buttons. But for the most part, you mostly just want to be using this meaty to force opponents to block when they're getting up. Now let me demonstrate what makes Lucario so great, why I keep on talking about burst. So you saw how far that 6x went before, right? Now check this out. This has like no whiff animation. So let's say I whiff this, right? The opponent tries to whiff punish. I can immediately just go for super, and it goes like full screen. Let me show that actually. How far this goes. Super far distance, plus 4 on block. This move goes super high. Like, it'll catch opponents that are actually trying to jump in the air. It is crazy. That's what makes it so much better than the regular 6X. They can't escape this move. The homing attack in burst is actually wild. So check this out. So let's say if your opponent's like, they just are coming down off of an air reset, you give them the block of this. If you're plus, you punch right through all of that counter attack. That is wild. And then obviously you have this full screen piercing whiff punisher that's like, come on, man. And you can really just throw out this charge 6x whenever you want. Cancel it super fast. If they jump, countered anything, then they're getting hit by this. And let's say they try to block. Let's say they try to be smart block, right? They block this, you're plus, they eat this grab. Look, 165 and the wall bounce. Come on, man. That's just not fair, man. So that is the basics of Lucario's game plan in field phase, dual phase, and how to body people in burst pretty quickly. Also, the top 5 moves in field and dual phase. If you want to see all the rest of my character guides, I have a link to the Pokkén Basics course, which has all the character guides that are already finished on my website in the description, so go ahead and check that out. Thanks so much for watching. On to the next guide. See you later.